let's talk about organizing a public play event. Hello and welcome. Today I want to talk about organizing a public play event, something like Adventurers League. I mean, this would work even if you're doing Pathfinder Society and have regular weekly groups that play together with multiple DMs, more than just one. I mean, even if you want to organize players, you could use some of this. Let's say you have a normal group and you have people that don't regularly show up. Some of the tools I'm going to show you, you'd be able to use to get a response from them every week, whether they will be there or not. So, you know, this will help with organized play or with your normal gameplay. Now, first let's talk about, because I always talk about this, Adventurers League. There are several things that you should always do every week for the store that you're organizing for to make life easier for them. A lot of you probably already do it, but let's go over what you should do. And then I'm going to get down to organizing your dungeon masters so that you know who's coming every week, how many tables you need, and how many tables the store can use for something other than your Adventurers League or organized play session, because they should be able to know that instead of waiting till last minute. So let's go ahead and start. All right, so this is one of the first things that I always have with me, or actually I have a DM now who has taken it on himself. He brings these every week. Honestly, I think the store should print this stuff out. I mean, I've burned so many reams of paper and everything running Dungeons and Dragons that it's ridiculous. I mean, we average 150 to 170 players a week at our store. And that's recently. Before that, we were still always doing 100 a week. Our low point was like 9 tables. Years ago, when it was just expeditions and encounters with 4th edition, we still had 5 tables with 35 people back in those days that were showing up every week. And it's grown, immensely since that time. Now we're at 17 tables. We were at 19 at one point, but we lost 2 tables. But that's, it is what it is. I use this form that you see here so that we can log all the players that are there. And the reason you want to log is because if the stores report to Wizards with players' DCI numbers, they get credit for those players, as well as if they have magic and other things that they do through the Wizards programs, and they get credit for that, and then they can go to the next level. I don't even know what the breakpoints are. I don't really care. But everything that you do this way helps the store as far as reporting with Wizards, and can get them more stuff. And in return, perhaps you'll get some more stuff. But, the store provides a space for you. You should do what you can to help them. So I'm going to put a link down below. I'll probably post this on my website and make a downloadable PDF so that you can download these sheets if you don't have them. But download them, maybe give the file to the store and let them print them for you. But, you should be handing these out every week. And the other thing that you need to have is every player should have a DCI number. Stores can get kind of funny with DCI cards because maybe they don't get a lot of them. So if you didn't know, you just go to dci.wizards.com. It brings you to this website. They can create an account, they have DCI number right away, and you're set. Now, the other thing that I would have you have them do, because players, if they do have cards, they invariably lose them or forget their wallet or their purse, or if it's in their game bag, maybe they misplaced that and brought another bag. Who knows what the reason is, but they're always like, I don't have it. Well, they always have their phone with them. So, just like here, you always have your phone with you. And all you should tell every one of them once they have a DCI number is go into your phone book, make an entry titled DCI. The number is a 10-digit number, just like a phone number. So put that DCI number in as a phone number, and they don't have to worry about ever carrying a card around with them again. They will have it in their phone book, and it makes life easier for them and for you. And they don't have to continually go, oh, I lost my DCI card, I need a new one. There's never an excuse. We all have phones, we all have devices. We can always put that stuff in there. All right, now let's get down to what I consider the nitty-gritty here. Organizing DMs can kind of be like herding cats. it can be an impossible task, especially when you start getting a lot of them with a lot of tables. Now, even if you only have 3 or 4 tables, let's face it, it's the way it is. You're going to have DMs that are not there regularly, or sometimes won't give you the courtesy of letting you know that they're not going to be there. So you may have a table waiting for them. There's nobody who wants to or is able to run that table, so you've got players that can't play that evening. Now, my recommendation is always to have backup DMs that you have worked on developing, so that if a DM doesn't show, you can say, hey, do you have your books? Can you run something this evening? But the main thing that I've started doing in order to alleviate these issues is getting my DMs to check in every week. Before, I told them email me, and for a while we had a major meeting because we had 21 DMs and 19 tables. And so that meant that whoever contacted me first got tables. And the last 2 DMs, it would be like, you can play, but I don't have more than 19 tables. Now, invariably, it ended up that at least 2 DMs weren't going to be there. But what happened was, after we had this major meeting telling people, if you don't respond, I'm going to do it in time order, they started slacking off and not letting me know. And then I have all 21 DMs showing up, and then there's a freaking hassle because their DMs have had the same table for years. They come in, the table, somebody sat down at it. And, all this is unacceptable. I mean, we're creatures of habit. I have a table I sit at because, if you watch my Twitter, I've set up a projector thing. And I no longer have to use maps and draw and stuff. So I like to be right near the power outlet so that my cord only runs like 3 feet from me to the power outlet. And then I don't have to worry about someone tripping because there's no room to walk behind me. So I do that for safety's sake. And if somebody's sitting at my table, I tell them to move. That's my table. But after a few weeks after this meeting, people stopped responding, and it caused problems. And, if you organize a lot of DMs, it can be stressful at times because people don't let you know they're not coming. They may not be in contact with their players. And there's some things that you should have your DMs do as well, and I'll talk about in a second. But the main thing is, your DM should always give you the courtesy of whether they're going to be there or not. And if you have a DM that's not there all the time, because I consider it a commitment, because there are people coming to play and you need someone running that table. So if they're not going to be consistent, relegate them as a backup and get someone who's going to be there every week, except when they're vacationing or a family emergency comes up or a work emergency. But if someone every week has a work emergency and can't run, they're not your DM for organized play. They're a backup for when they come if you need one, and they should be playing the rest of the time on those occasions they show up. Now, one thing, let me segue a little bit. One thing I'd recommend is tell all your DMs to get contact information from their players, especially in a store where you have a lot of tables. And maybe you have a lot of foot traffic coming in every week where a lot of people new come in and want to sit down and learn to play. So if they have contact information and they have all their players, for some reason players are pretty good about telling DMs they're not going to come. DMs aren't really good about telling the organizer they're not going to come. It's a weird relationship there. But then your DM can come over to you at the beginning of the night and say, hey, I've got 2 players that aren't going to be here tonight, so I got 2 seats that people can sit. And after that's all taken care of, you know where you can place all your new players. It's not an issue of constantly walking around and saying, do you have room, or people not showing up? Get your DMs to be in contact with their players so that they can give you the information you need to seat new players when they come. Now, I know there are people that like to use stuff like Warhorn and that kind of stuff, but if you have a lot of tables, which most of my tables have become established tables, and I fill in to those tables with new players when I can. The dream of a newbie player table never really comes to fruition unless you're willing to tell players after they sit at that guy's table that every week they have to take a number and they're not guaranteed a seat at that table. That's a new player's table, and whoever comes in first every week gets to sit there. There are no permanent seats. But it doesn't really work that way. You end up with tables that are firm, and you can't just open every table up to something like Warhorn where people sign in and they're like, I have a seat at this table, and then the regulars come in and they get bent out of shape. So what I do, I have my regulars that come in, I have my DMs in contact with their players, and then I have a number system where I printed out numbers. They hand that out to the new players. When I tell them they're told to wait. I come up, number 1, number 2, number 3, and if they're standing there when I call the number, I seat them. If they're not, I get the next number. Tough shit, I went past you, you should have been waiting. But you kind of have to be a hard nose about that kind of stuff. But the more systematic you make it, as you have more and more players and tables, the easier your life will be. Now let me show you a tool that I use now, and you can implement everything I've implemented or some of it, but either way, it's going to make sure that you have an exact list of who's coming and who's not every week. And I'll explain why it's always going to be exact. So let's take a look at this. All right, so using Google Sheets, I have set up a question or a form that allows me to send out every week on Monday at 9 a.m. this, or something like it. This isn't mine. I didn't put mine here because I don't want the email addresses of my guys showing up when I flip around. But guys and girls. But you know, this is what you would do. You would set up a form. This one I titled Adventures League DM Check-In. Whatever your event is, just put it in there and check in, or whatever you want to do. And then down here I put, please complete this form so we can reserve a table for you at AL. Now, on my actual form, it's longer because I'm at the point where if they don't respond, they're not guaranteed a table, even if they show up. And the store started because of the way this is. I mean, you have to get the store in sync with what you're doing. So because of this, and I'll show you the end spreadsheet that they see as well as what I have. Anyone that doesn't respond, they're not guaranteed a table. They will even take the tent off that says reserved. And if players come in that want to play board games that are buying stuff from the store, they can use that table. And that DM is just SOL. They're not going to be able to play that week, and their players are going to be screwed too because they didn't give you the courtesy of a response. And there's no excuse because they're getting an email every week. And if they choose to ignore that email, that's their problem. But this goes out every week for me on Monday at 9 a.m. And it does it automatically. I'll show you how to do that. You may want to skip the one step, but the more automated, the easier your life is. So I send this out every week. I make them, because just the responses on the form would just be a bunch of yeses and nos. They have to include their email address or the form will not send. And then they have to answer. And I put, yes, I'll be there. No, I'll not be attending. I can't attend this week, but my table's covered. What that means is they've talked to their players and they've got a guy there to work as a backup for each table. Ideally, that's what you want, is every DM has somebody who's played for a while that comes in and they're always there and they can say, hey, I got to work this week. Can you run my table? And I've got a few tables that are like that and it works beautifully. I don't even have to worry about backups anymore because of this. So if you can get every table, every DM to cultivate a backup so that they are covered, then everything will make your life easier. So once they send this, or everybody responds, you get a response page and it'll say who did it, and it'll do it in order. Now, the main thing you want to do here is click and select response destination, and you'll make it create a new spreadsheet. Now, I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it now, but what it does, it creates a spreadsheet that looks like this, and each one will have a timestamp of exactly when everyone responded, their email address, and will they, won't they, or their table's covered is all filled in automatically. Now, if you want to get really fancy, and you can look this up, you can set up pivot tables, and the way I do it, I set it up so that like I can do it ascending by timestamp. I can set it up so it's just yeses, a group of yeses and a group of nos. And the reason I have that is because I then set up a spreadsheet that I actually share with the store. This is what they get. So I have all my DMs listed, and then I just filled it in. We have DM 1, 4, 5. You know, these are all the guys that checked in and said, yes, they're going to be there. These people, no, they're not going to be there. And we had 2 who were rude and didn't respond. Those people, the no's and the no responses, there's no table for them. And the store knows they can do what they want with those tables. And you'll find the first time a no response does a no response, and they come in and show up anyway and don't get a table, they will respond from that point forward, or they'll quit. But either way, if somebody's rude like that, I don't care. You know, give me the courtesy of a response. That's just the way I am. But the store is on board because now, I mean, it's a massive store. Obviously, if we can have, at one point we had 21 tables, and then it's a huge store filled with games and comics and stuff like that, and the tables are double 6-foot and 8-foot long tables. They'll put 2 side by side, and there's room for all this. I mean, I think on Magic Night, when they do Friday Night Magic, they have like 300-400 people that can play. So the store is ridiculously large. But when we are in there taking over all the tables, you always have gamers that want to come in and sit down at the tables and play. Well, they can't. Even if they buy board games there, it's like, sorry, the tables are taken up. This way now, they know we're going to have, in this case, what? 6 tables that we can set aside for people to play games because these groups are not coming. Now, what I will do, because sometimes this doesn't really represent 100%, because I may go in and contact a backup DM once I see that somebody can't come and find out if they can run the table for me or run a table for new players, and I'll put a check down there and fill that table. So part of that is you organizing and making sure that you've got room for maybe a whole table of 6 or 7 newbies that can sit down that night together and start playing and have some fun. And you're always going to have a couple of people that can't make it. So if you have that backup DM that can do that, you know, that gives you your newbie table. And you know, there's always turnover. Honestly, if I have 30 new people come in, which has happened, if 20% shows up the next week, you're lucky. That's my personal opinion. If 6 of those 30 show up again, then that's what it is. It's always people that want to come in. They've heard about D&D. Maybe they watched Roll20. So having that floating table that can just constantly have new people is good, but eventually, of those people that you're sitting there, eventually you end up with 5 or 6 and it becomes a firm table. But that's what I try to do. I'll fudge 1 table every week so that I can have a backup DM that can run new players, and then I don't have to worry about fitting them in with an existing group that maybe is too high of level for them. And I'm not even going to talk about rules as far as tiers and stuff like that, because at this point I just don't care. I'm trying to put butts in seats and make everybody happy. So this is, and then what I do, because I'm using Google Sheets, I create the sheet, put the check boxes in, and then I share it with a guy that sets the tables for me, and then he knows, I know, everybody knows. And the beauty of it is, come Wednesday, when I get there at 6 o'clock, you know, I'm going, after I finish everything I have to do, I leave to go there, I'll pick up food, I can sit down and eat. I don't have to be looking at my phone like I used to, wondering, is everybody going to show? I know who's going to show, who's not, and who I don't care if they're going to show because they didn't respond. And that makes it so that I don't have to hassle anymore. And I always felt bad when I didn't have enough seats for people to come in, but you have to just get a thick skin and be like, I'm sorry, I can't seat you. And it's just the way it is. But this makes everything easy. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is what makes this form perfect. Now, if you're happy with this, I mean, every week you can go in and send it. You know, you click send, you would list all your DM's emails, send this out to them, and then get a response back. You could do that at any time. I'd advise doing it like 48 hours before the game is set, so that I don't like it doing it too far out, because, you know, things can come up and then they're not able to come. And I don't like doing it the day before because it doesn't give everyone enough time. So I give them 2 days to respond. It goes out Monday morning, Tuesday at midnight, the form shuts down, and Wednesday I report everything to the store and I'm done. So all of this for me happens in the background because I don't have to fill this out. I'm going to give you the address to this, but this shows you how to make it go automatically. And this says daily, but I mean, you can do it. Mine is set Monday at 9 a.m. And you basically go in and create an application. And let me go ahead and pull something up real quick. All right, so to make this thing run, you'll follow the instructions. Now, for this to work properly, I haven't been able to make it work using Firefox. Maybe there's a way, but I use Chrome to drive this thing. And so what you'll do is create your form, follow the instructions here. You're going to email the first form you make, you email it to yourself, not to all your DMs. Then you'll go in and your Gmail allows you to show original. And in there, you would copy everything between the HTML tags, including those tags. Now, he gives you a site that you can go to, which is here. You'll plug it in here. You'll decode it, and then copy what shows readable by humans. At this point, you can just leave it on the clipboard, or you can put it into a document if you want, but I just leave it in the clipboard and copied it over. And then you're going to, in here it says create a new script from a Google spreadsheet. The Tools Script Manager I'm going to show you, that really doesn't exist anymore. You need to go in and do Script Editor. And you may have to go in and do the add-on, get the add-on called Google Apps Script, add that in, and then you'll be able to do the script editor. It'll pop this for you. You'll go in and create a new HTML file right here. Just name it what you're going to name it, and then you'll copy after the function the HTML, well, let's show you. I'm just going to do a bogus name, AL emailer. Let's do that. It doesn't matter. So you would, all this HTML stuff, you would just highlight it and then copy what you did. I mean, you don't have to copy the HTML tags if you want. You could just copy the body between those tags and put it right in here, and you're done. And you'll save that. You're set. Now the next thing that you do after that, let's go back here and show you. In here, he gives you the function. You don't have to know how to program. So you would just copy the function. So let's do that and show you what to do. So you'll just copy the function. I've got my mic in the way, so it makes life a little more difficult. You go into the code.js, highlight everything, copy the function in, and then you fill in with the actual data that you're going to use. Now this is the AL emailer HTML. This is going to be filled in here. Obviously you're not emailing to someone@gmail.com. You'll put in all of the emails of your, whether you, and you can use this for players as well. So if you want to make sure your players respond and let you know. So you would have 11@gmail.com, comma, and so on. And these are all the people that will get the form every week. This is the doc that'll go out to them. Make the subject whatever you want. Adventures League attendance, some message. You'll put a message in, please fill out this form to let me know if you'll be here this week or not for Adventures League, and you save it. Now, the next thing that you'll do, and if you look here, let's show you. The next thing that you'll do is you can set it up so that it goes weekly. So you go edit current project, and then you set your time-driven trigger. So once you've done these three things, you've set a time thing, you've created your HTML document from that email you sent to yourself, you create the function. Every single week in the background, you don't even have to be in here, this will run. And I always include myself in one of the emails there, so that I verify that it fired off on Monday morning. And every Monday at 9 a.m. I get an email with a form in it saying, are you going to be there with all the stuff? a link to the form. I click it, I respond so that I'm in there in the list in case anybody wants to debate that. They're not going to since I'm the coordinator, but you know, I do it because that's the way I am. And you know everything is working perfectly. So the only thing that can bugger this up is if you accidentally enter an email address wrong. Other than that, it's foolproof. And once it's set up and it's set to run, it'll run every single week. And you can do this for multiple sheets. If you run multiple sessions, like one day, one another, and you have even more hassle to deal with. I mean, we technically have Wednesday and Saturdays. I don't run Saturdays anymore, so I don't worry about it, and I don't coordinate it. I have somebody else that's doing it. But if I was, I would do the same thing. I would on Thursday send something out to say, are you going to be here on Saturday? And I would know how many DMs are coming. So you could set up as many of these as you want for as many events as you want. And everything's automated. And you no longer have to be looking at your phone waiting because that guy's late or appears to be late and didn't tell you he was not going to be there. Now you know, you've gotten your yeses, your nos, and you've gotten your group that doesn't respond, who needs to be replaced, and you are set. So, I mean, these are the tools that I've used to alleviate the stress of organizing a large D&D organized event every week. This will be useful whether you're a GM with players and you want to know if they're going to come. Just send this out to them. And if you want to share this with, you're an organizer, you want to share it with your dungeon masters so that they can just send it out and remind their players to tell them they're coming or not. Then they'll be able to tell you, I have openings, I don't have openings. And then you can use it for all of your events. But this is probably the most useful thing that I have done to alleviate any stress that I had over running an organized event, because now I know exactly what's happening, who's coming, including, and who's not. And that includes the people who don't respond. They're the not coming group as far as I'm concerned. And you need to relay that to them. If you don't respond, I consider you're not coming, you're not getting a table. And the store needs to be on board, and I'm sure they will, because they'll appreciate being able to let those people who buy board games sit down and play games. But yeah, I would definitely utilize something like this because it makes your life easier. It lets the store know what they need to set up for you and what they can provide to the public that walks in. So do what you can to make things easier, and the store will definitely appreciate it as well. I guarantee it. All right, so that's it for today. Next week, Tuesday, we won't be running our 5th edition campaign Horde of the Dragon Queen because we have stuff going on. It's New Year's Day. So I'm not going to be gaming or doing anything. So I may do another video next week. And the following week, we'll pick back up with Horde of the Dragon Queen. I'm going to try to start throwing in another video during the week, maybe Friday, Saturday, on 5th edition, DCC, that's popular content that I put up, and some other stuff. But you know, make sure you subscribe down below so you get more information or can get notified when we put videos up. Remember to rate, like, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Let me know if you utilize this and if it helps you out. Like I said, you can do some or all of it. If you just want to make the form and manually email it every week, it's still making your life easier because those people will get it and they will respond or they won't, and you'll know exactly who's coming. But if you really want to automate it so you never touch it again, I mean, the only time you'll touch it, let's be honest, if someone stops DMing, you change one of the email addresses. You replace him with a new DM that you replace him with. That's it. You're done. You are set for life. But that's it for the video. You guys have a safe and happy New Year, and we'll see you next time.